No escaping this.
CJ here, Three Black Geeks. 2011 was a very interesting year for comic book movies. We had 4 comic book movies that came out this year. You had Thor, X-Men First Class, Green Lantern, and then the big finale of them all, Captain America. So I'm just going to give a summation of it. Before I get into Captain America, I'm going to give a big summation of the first 3 movies. Thor was a very interesting movie. Thor, before, when it was announced, I was kind of hesitant on it because my knowledge of Thor only extends out to what I've seen when I was a kid in middle school, in different comics and stuff when he was with the Avengers, and just my overall knowledge of who he is as a person and stuff. So, and I really didn't jump into Thor until, I believe, it was 2007 is when I jumped back into Thor and stuff. By then, that's when they did the reissue of, they rebooted Thor again, Thor #1. So I was very hesitant in seeing this movie, and I think a lot of other people were, because they're like, oh man, how's Thor going to be out? So seeing all the pictures and stuff, seeing the trailers, I was hooked. I was immediately hooked. So as I went into the movie, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed every bit of it. They did a very good job of, this whole Thor movie was very good from beginning to end. Small stuff here and there that, was just kind of like, shouldn't have been in there, but, it didn't really deter away from the story. Yeah, Chris Hemsworth as Thor, I think he basically, by the end of the movie, you believed he was Thor. He owned that role just like Robert Downey Jr. owned Iron Man, Tony Stark. And, as you're watching the movie, you see him develop from this brash, cocky, guy who thinks he's the shit, and by the end, he has compassion, he's humble and stuff, and you believe it. I know it's a, hour 45-minute movie, and, that's pretty quick, but they do a good job of convincing you. It's not forced. It's very convincing. Yeah, Natalie Portman as Jane Foster. There, she did a pretty good job as Jane Foster. I'm not that knowledgeable of the character and stuff, so her character in the movie was pretty good for the most part, and her relationship with Thor was believable. It, again, wasn't forced, but it was believable enough. You had Tom Hiddleston as Loki. I think he was really the highlight of the movie, actually, because his Loki. Whereas in the comics, you kind of hate you really just hate Loki because of who he is. In this movie, you sympathize with him. Even though he's doing all this stuff, his character, you sympathize with him because he's just doing it because he feels it's the right thing to do. So for the most part, I think he did a very phenomenal job as Loki. Anthony Hopkins as Odin. Again, it's Anthony Hopkins. He was going to knock it out the park as Odin. I think that was a very good casting decision to have as Odin, because he just brings that gravity to that role. And another group that was in it, I believe, was the Warriors 3. Warriors 3 they're like Thor's, comrades. One of the Warriors 3, I believe, is Volstagg. Is played by Ray Stevenson. He was in Punisher Warzone and I think Rome, the HBO show Rome. Very good job as Volstagg and stuff like that. Just overall, the movie was very well made. Oh, also, Idris Elba played Heimdall. A lot of people have very controversial opinions about that and stuff. I think that's stupid because he's black. Oh my God, you can't have black Norseman. Which I can understand, but at the same time, I think he did a very phenomenal job as Heimdall. So hey, love it or hate it, he did a very good job. You can't really knock it. Yeah, the story beginning to end was very good. It was basically just kind of a coming of age thing for Thor. The action scenes were very good. I think the highlight of the action scenes, at least to me, was the Ice Giant fight at the beginning. Warriors 3, Sif, and Thor, and Loki versus the Frost Giants. Very good fight. I actually enjoyed that. And that was another thing that I was very concerned about, was the Frost Giants, because how are they going to portray them and stuff? Because I know most people want the old school, ginormous Frost Giants, but I think they did a very good job with the Frost Giants that presented in this movie. I know most people wanted them huge, like Godzilla huge and stuff, but I'm like, hey, you know, they were big enough, but they were towering over the characters and stuff, which is what you really needed in the first place. So, you know, that fight was good. The Destroyer fight was pretty good. You know, it was over pretty quick, but you know, the Warriors 3 fight versus the Destroyer was, you know, was pretty good as well. The Loki Thor fight at the end was very good as well. You know, a lot of tension in that. Another thing I just want to touch on before this, there is a scene where he fights through a whole bunch of SHIELD agents, and there's a little cameo appearance by Hawkeye. Now you can tell they added the scene into the movie just to, you know, try to push the Avengers angle, which is probably my one gripe about the movie. That it didn't really bother me, but it was one gripe, is that they're trying to shoehorn the Avengers into this movie and stuff. Because I think the movie can stand alone by itself, but when you try to shoehorn in that Avengers aspect, it kind of takes away from it. I love the cameo, don't get me wrong, I enjoy the fact that Hawkeye was in it and stuff, but when you try to shoehorn that Avengers angle to it, it just kind of takes away from it a little bit. But overall, the movie was good. I suggest you check it out. If you never read a Thor comic, I suggest you check out J. Michael Straczynski's run on it. He did a run on Thor that kind of rebooted it, coming out of Thor Disassembled. Check it out. There's tons of trade paperbacks from his run on it. So if you can, go to Borders, go to comic book shop, check it out. You'll enjoy it. You'll get a good idea of who Thor is. You'll enjoy it.